Hey, welcome to 10,000 Miles. Tonight I welcome back Andrew Pryfogle. He's a friend, colleague, and visionary in the technology space, specifically in the channel. We're going to talk about two topics tonight. One, I wrote an article a while back called The RFP is Dead, Why Trusted Advisors Are the Future of Business Decisions. And we're going to dive deep into that. And then on the heels of that, we're going to talk about how new providers come in and out of the channel and what it really takes to succeed here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Andrew tonight. So let's dive in. Hey, man, welcome back. Andrew, how are you today?
Dude, it is good to be back, my friend. I'm doing great.
Super excited for your second lap around the track here on 10,000 Miles. Thanks for showing up tonight.
Well, congratulations, man. The take rate on this has been off the charts. You're up to some crazy number of subscribers now. You're getting such a huge audience. You're a bit of a rock star now, my friend.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's growing. And I'm, just for anybody who may be listening, I'm out there punching above my weight class now. So I'm not shy in finding people with much larger subscriber bases than me. Cool. And I shoot them random notes if they find them interesting and they've done things. And I've scheduled some really cool guests of people I've never met.
That's amazing.
That have great stories. And little in case he gets out there, I reached out to Kevin O'Leary this morning, Mr. Wonderful. Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
He's never coming on. I mean, I don't want to say never. It's a long time. But I don't think he's coming on at 19,000 subscribers. But I told him the title of my note to him says "Punching Above My Weight Class."
That's good. Well, what the hell? Vic, there's one way to assure that he never ever comes on your show.
Yeah, just never reach out to him.
You don't send the email, right?
Yeah, I sent it to him this morning.
You're one step ahead already. That's awesome.
So I'll be, maybe it's the 15th email he gets from me when I've reached 150,000 subscribers, but I'll keep punching over the weight class for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, man, today you're part of the B format, which is, the second format that we have here. And we already know your story and your background. And for those who haven't met Andrew yet, go back to episode number 2 and check out episode number 2. You hear all about Andrew's really great and illustrious background. And he's a mover and shaker and a thinker and a thought provoker in the technology and channel space. So I encourage everybody to go back there. But what I'd like to do today is I want to dig in with you a little bit on this notion of the trusted advisor and sort of the escalated or elevated value per se that a trusted advisor brings to a technology solution, problem and solution. You and I were just together at a big conference in Phoenix, and I think everybody tripled down on it. And prior to that conference, I had written and released an article on LinkedIn called The RFP is Dead.
Yeah.
Why Trusted Advisors Are the Future of Businesses. And it had an actual tombstone on it.
Yeah, that's great.
And it said, rest in peace, RFP, 1880 to 2021. I since changed it to 2024. And it said, are survived by trusted advisors.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny. I had a colleague who said, dude, you can't put that on LinkedIn. It's so morbid. He said, that stone, you got to get rid of that stone. And I was like, it just feels right in my gut. It's how I feel about it. So I'm going to go for it. And I spoke with him about a week and a half after I released it. And I said, I know. You hate the slide. You hate the pitch. He goes, whoa. Dude, I was completely wrong. He said, your engagement is off the charts. You got 4,000 or 5,000 impressions, 80 likes, 171 reposts, a bunch of he goes, I was wrong. So what, if you don't mind, let me start with some stats, and then I'd love to get your take on the space here. There are some interesting stats out in the space about technology delivery in general, and these are public. And if you go out to Google, you can find these, but a McKinsey report said that 70% of technology projects fail to deliver on time, on budget, or with the desired features and benefits. That is That's a big loss. 19% of projects are considered complete failures. Man, that's a
Wow.
big ouch. That's in the chaos report. And 11% of IT projects fail outright. Those are staggering numbers. And let me put
Yep.
these into some percentages or some dollars for you real quick. 1.3 trillion spent on IT projects. What's 70% of that? 925 billion is lost. They're in full or partially. So you may get a project that, had a certain ROI coming and it didn't deliver it. So I say the 925 with some bit of caution, but nonetheless, somebody is disappointed in that spend.
But
the
19%, that's a big ass number as well. That's a complete failure.
Well, let's see. Let's go back to that. The 11% is an outright failure.
Okay.
Money spent, project never starts, or it's thrown away.
Wow.
But still, what's that? $130 billion? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
What could we do with $130 billion?
Unreal.
We could do a lot. We could do a lot of good things. So when we talk about those numbers, I'm curious on your, take of the state and your thoughts on why why companies are struggling. What's happening there?
Yeah. Vic, it'd be interesting to see what percentage of that 1.3 trillion is procured through a formal RFP process, right?
Yeah.
That's an alarming number. And we have been using this RFP process, enterprises have for ages, right?
Yep.
And it's just gotten worse and worse. There's so many reasons why the traditional RFP process is so flawed, in my opinion. I really liked your article. I thought it was spot on. I think some of the comments you got in response to it were also equally interesting to me. In a world where technology is innovating at an unprecedented pace, as a customers ought to be, dare I say, humble enough to admit to the fact that, hey, I don't know enough right now in this moment to be able to build an exhaustive set of requirements that captures everything that might be possible, right? RFPs are never really designed with, I want to find out what's possible. RFPs are simply, no, I know what I need. I know what I need. Can you do this, right? Here's a set of requirements, features, capabilities. Can you do these things? How do I rate it? Blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't allow for any kind of creativity around us in solutioning, and it doesn't allow for a really innovative vendor to step in and say, you're looking at this completely wrong.
Yeah,
there's a totally different perspective to have here, and this is why that's one of the big flaws in the RFP process. And I know you got actually several comments, I think, on your LinkedIn post to that effect.
I did. It says when you reduce vendor engagement to check boxes, you lose sight of what really matters, the relationship, innovation, and outcomes.
Yes.
I mean, that was just an unbelievable comment. I thought was spot on by somebody I don't know, but somebody I am connected to on LinkedIn. I was telling my boss the other day, someone had to say it out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, long evaluation cycles in RFPs lead to analysis paralysis. Let's focus on quick pilots and proof of concept engagements instead. I mean, there is a lot here, man. And let me tell you, 104 comments, 171 reposts, and 90 some odd, likes, loves, whatever. It was well received. Now, there were a few dissenters.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't do it. And, and I responded very professionally, say, hey, appreciate your perspective. Love it. Yep. Your insight is true in some cases, but here's why, we have to challenge thinking. Change requires change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The cynic in me also knows that that most RFPs have some bias built into them from the get-go when they're written, right? In fact, I've always told my sales organizations over many years that don't bother responding to an RFP unless you helped write it.
Yeah.
And I think there's it's probably something that people don't like to talk about at enterprises, but inevitably there's somebody that is helping an IT leader, a technology buyer, craft that RFP.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can craft an RFP without building some bias into it, right? Which again limits the possibilities of what you actually might get in return.
Yeah.
So it's broken.
It's broken. And I think one of the other problems, Andrew, in my experience, not only being on the side of the desk that has put our fair share of them out many years ago, but now on the side that receives and helps write or respond to them, there is a sense of a decrease in value when people at the company feel like they need to go outside to bring information in. They don't want to feel unimportant. This is one of the personal growth, first, step, second step, third step, depending on where in your journey. But, asking for help is not a weakness. It's a strength.
Yeah.
You can't, just because you put your first toe on the turf doesn't mean you're going to score all the points in the Super Bowl.
Right.
You need a team, and we could make every team analogy known to man for the next hour, and everyone would ring and resonate with somebody different. But, what we try to do as trusted advisors and people in our space who are, you being at the tip of the spear, looking for the newest, latest, innovative, solutions, trying to understand and fit, then meeting with folks like me and saying, hey, what are you hearing from your customers? Does this really look like it would bring some value to them? And then you and I usually will find a spot where we go, wow, that's a home run, right? And then my job, is to bring it to the marketplace and sort of try to get people to envision what could be.
Yes.
But you're dealing with egos, and it's very difficult. And I don't say that disrespectfully. I have respect for people's work. I always make sure that, when I'm in somebody's company, I don't want the credit. Andrew, if you were had some job at a company and you brought me in, my job is to prop you up. My job is to make you look like the smartest person in the entire company. You're like, yep, I did my research. I brought in this person, that person, this person, that person. I got all this great advice. Here's all the data. Here are all the stats. We're going to do POC right away, and the price is going to be right, and the ROI is going to be 32%.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. I like that you gave your sales folks, hey, don't participate, because even though I know better, I've participated in many an RFP over the years that I knew was done before I even submitted. But much like you said at the top with Mr. Wonderful, I'll miss 100% of the ones I don't put something in for. So
fair.
I'm going to burn a cycle just, as a Hail Mary, because it might have been a big deal.
I think it's interesting though that the RFP for many IT leaders is also a response to being pretty jaded about direct salespeople, right?
That's a very interesting perspective.
If you're a direct salesperson, your job is to sell your product, your solution.
Right.
Nobody else's, right? It's my way or the highway, and of course, customers get hammered all day by direct salespeople that swear up and down that their solution is the best ever. So, absence of any third party that helps me sort through that, I kind of have to do an RFP, don't I? Right? I'm kind of painted into that corner if I want to have some sort of objective way of analyzing all these different possible solutions that have been thrown at me. RFP becomes one vehicle to be able to analyze that. But as we've just discussed, that whole RFP process itself is broken. There's got to be a better way. I wonder if there is, Vic.
Well, I think there is, Andrew. It is the trusted advisor. Yeah. But here's the skepticism that some receive.
Yep.
The trusted advisor base is built from a long line and history of people who came into this business through telecom.
Right.
Speeds and feeds, right?
Yep.
Pipes and plumbing, whatever you like to call it. But now the choices aren't AT&T and Lumen and Verizon and whomever anymore.
Right.
The choices are, what is the solution that's going to ring the greatest value?
Yeah.
For the networks, it's stability. And yeah, it's expansive with SD-WAN and other technologies, of course, SASE and things of the like. But really, when you get into AI, automation, you're getting into a lot of things that are really going to change the shape of the customer interaction
Yep.
and the outcomes of the business. So there's a lot more skepticism in that space. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that not all trusted advisors are created equal. And so even if you look at my my post, there are some people in there say, hey, that would be great. But the bulk of the trusted advisors throw shit over the wall.
Right.
They don't know what they're doing. And I get it. Just like there are a lot of bad car salespeople too. Right. But when I go into a dealership and I buy a nice car and I get a pristine and an elite experience, it makes me want to go back there for service. I know it can work.
Yeah. Vic, I being on the TSD side of this, where we support thousands of trusted advisors. I think this is true for every TSD out there. Each one that I've been a part of and started. There's certainly the cream of the crop. It's not even an 80-20 rule, right? It's more like a 95-5 rule, right? Where 5% or maybe even less are the ones that are providing real value to end customers, challenging them to think differently, bringing them new insights that they hadn't considered before, having, being able to pull from a variety of new innovative solutions that can address their problems differently. And then the majority, as to your car analogy, right? Your car sales analogy, the majority are just out there about, this one goes 0 to 60 in 4.3, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fact that's interesting, but that's not really, I can figure that out on my own. What do I need you to tell me that? I mean, that's I can Google that and find out what the 0 to 60 speed is, right?
What I want to sell Bugattis and give somebody a real experience. And no offense, I have a Chevy on the driveway that my kids drive, a truck and a Blazer, and they're amazing cars, but they were much easier decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Sure. They were much easier decisions, and they're great. They're absolutely great. There are a lot of reasons why there's failure in delivering technology. These two are not topical, or I should say they're not statistically backed by McKinsey or the Chaos Report. If you go out there and look this stuff up in Gartner, you're going to find 25 reasons. My top 2 reasons, what I've seen after almost 20 years in the C-suite, was that it's either the wrong solutions are selected or architected, or there's lack of execution capability. And that can be not enough resources, the wrong resources, meaning the wrong skill set. Doesn't mean I have bad people, but if I need somebody with a specific skill and I don't have that, and we try to Swiss Army knife the thing in, how many times have you turned the screw with a Swiss Army knife and inevitably slipped 3 or 4 times and scratched the surface of something or cut your finger? Inevitably, you get the screw out, but it's not really the best screwdriver, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what you wind up in. Through your experience, lack of selection and lack of execution, what are some of the other things that you're either seeing, talking about with people and gaining a view into?
So I think for me, it's a going in, when a customer goes in blind, or with the blinders on, I should say, that I'm only considering, good example. I'm only considering suppliers that are in the top right of the Gartner Magic Quadrant, right? That's a great example.
Just ran into that, by the way.
And sure, there's credibility there, no question. But we also know that those vendors have to pay a lot of money to end up in that top right quadrant, right? It doesn't automatically mean that they're necessarily the best, most innovative solution that's kind of purpose built for that customer. And so having those blinders on limits the possibilities, right? I think there's so much that happens in the world of IT where we don't pause for a second and ask the question, that I always love to ask, which is suppose for a moment, right?
Yeah, suppose for a moment.
But how do you imagine potentially a very different outcome, a very different world, a very different design? I think there's the customers that are willing to go there are coming up with the most creative, most innovative approaches to technology and figuring out how that can actually help them be more competitive in a very crowded marketplace, right?
Yep.
And the ones that are simply saying, stubbornly somewhat, I know precisely what I need. I'm going to go find the magic quadrant guy that can provide me precisely what I need at the cheapest price, right?
Yep.
And that's what the RFP does. RFPs take away the creativity, the imagination, if you will. And every great thing that's been done around technology started with somebody imagining something, right? Imagining how something could be different.
Yeah.
And every significant competitive advantage that is technology driven was because of somebody somewhere saying, there's got to be a better way to do this.
You
right?
sound like an innovator. You sound like somebody who thinks without the fear of loss.
Mm.
So here's an interesting perspective on the other side of that. You work in a big company, especially, and you go through a near 7 to 12 month RFP process. And hopefully alongside of that is the vendor management process, which is, looking at stuff. It take a minimum of 12 to 18 months for all of this stuff to flush out.
Yep.
And then you get into implementation. The bigger company you're in, everybody's got a tentacle attached to it in some way, shape, or form. So what does that do? It drives up cost. I was part of a project at a company that was estimated to come in at $130 million. When I was asked what I thought about that budget, I told them they were off significantly. And I kind of got laughed out of Dodge, so to speak,
Yeah.
$1.3 billion later, the project failed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about execution and all about the wrong tech. This is why I'm so heavily biased. The biggest thing I ever watched from a front row seat, and I bowed out of it before it started. I said, "It's a career ender if I do it, and it's a career ender if I don't.
Yeah.
I'll take the other lane. I'd like to do something else.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to lose life from a project like this. It's not going to go well." So there was 1.3 billion. So what happens is when the numbers are that big, we're going to come full circle on this in a second. Ultimately, somebody, quote one of my old bosses, "I need an ass."
Yeah.
Yeah. I need an ass. I need somebody's got to take the hit. Somebody's got to be at blame. Somebody's got to get fired if it's not more than one person.
Yeah.
Hopefully the person that you want to blame has resigned and moved on and done something. Otherwise, somebody's going to take a hit. So now we're back in this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
We're back in, why did I choose Gartner upper right quadrant? Yeah, because nobody got fired for choosing upper right quadrant. Okay, check one box. Number two, was it the right technology or the wrong technology? I don't know. I took a year on RFP and 15 people scored it. And here are the results of the score. Right. Meanwhile, the scoring system is completely subjective.
Yeah.
If you like, fedoras and I like baseball hats, you're going to give a fedora a 10 and I'm going to give a baseball hat a 10.
Right.
And that's just going to be the way it's going to be. There is absolute bias in the scoring, but the people who put the project together are going to say, hey, and then they're going to say, and this is what the vendor promised, the result's going to be, and what's going to get lost is the poor implementation and the poor execution and all of the things along the way. So I love the way you think. I think the same way. I even thought this way when I was inside of corporate environments. I was a bit different in that regard. I never wanted to choose the product just because it was deemed safe when I knew somehow it was going to be twice the price and half as effective.
Yeah.
When everybody forced me, vendor management and other people said, or do the RFP. And then, come on, man. I was funny. I was just on a presentation the other day and I walked people through our view of the trusted advisor. And I'm going to come to another set of facts here. It's interesting. But, and I said this, I said, hey, it's pretty simple. I said, it's rigged, right? It's almost a rigged game. Well, I had a friend who missed he's thinking of coming on and joining us in a sub perspective. And he said, hey, can you send me the recording? And he's a very thorough guy. You're going to meet him someday. You're going to love this guy. He's a 10 out of 10. And he writes me back a full page of notes. I loved what you did here. I loved what you did there. And he said, and I wouldn't use the word rigged because somebody might pick it up in the political sense because, Trump says the system is rigged. And then I said, hey, listen, love him or hate him. He did not invent that word. He does not own that word. And I'm not voting for Trump by saying that the RFP is rigged. And I wrote back in big letters, it's freaking rigged. I mean, it's like, sometimes these things are decided before they start and they're rubber stamps.
Right.
But everybody got to check the box. And, folks might not want to believe that, buddy,
It's almost like RFP is the wrong acronym. It's more like CYA, right?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good one. That should be a collaborative article we work on.
Yeah.
The RFP is now renamed the CYA. So why trusted advisor? We started tapping into this and I took a little, page out of Drew's book. He had the whole rocket ship thing coming and that was just some Avant stats. And, we're a part of many ecosystems and we certainly have our favorites. But I put some notes together that, hey, you can go out and hire a consultant or you can get your inner team working. When you bring D&M on board as an example, or a trusted advisor, but I'll toot the D&M horn here for sure. First and foremost, we've got 18 professionals working in and around our company that are here working 100% towards your success. They wear our jersey, they have our badge, and in turn, they wear your jersey. And we built this proprietary customer portal that houses all your information, sits on AWS, and it's multi-tenant. You've got this great access to it. But then what we've amassed on our own dime through our own efforts over the last 23 years is a solution and distribution ecosystem that's second to none. It's got 145 support professionals available to us, which means it's available to companies. What's in that? It's pre-sales analysis, it's pricing professionals. Then I've got 41 solution engineers. You want to talk about CCaaS, AI, cybersecurity, business process outsourcing. We've got people to come that are experts in these areas that come at our cost, not the client's cost. Proprietary vendor rating platform, kind of like the Yelp or the Net Promoter of these platforms, which is not publicly available. So it's going to have, hey, I just did a project with ABC Corp and it didn't go so well, and here's why. And then I could reach out to that person. Lastly, this ecosystem is full of 350 solution providers, ranging from CCaaS and unified communications, virtual infrastructure, voice data wireless, artificial intelligence, variable labor, cybersecurity, managed services, and last, strategic consulting and guidance. So, I mean, how do you fight against that? It's an unfair fight. Like, we're coming, as they said in the Godfather, if you're going to come heavy.
That's right. Exactly.
And we come so heavy. And I think, and I redid our entire deck coming out of Special Forces, redid it, spent 2 weeks on it, sending it to the team, getting feedback, sending it to colleagues, getting it back. I think we nailed the message now about our value prop, even bigger and better than ever before because of Special Forces. I'm going to thank Drew. And because of, our collective efforts. I just think our message is spot on and on point.
Yeah.
But when you hear it laid out like that, what else do you think about from the TA perspective? Like, did I leave anything out? Should I double down on something else?
Yeah.
Like, what's the big nugget there?
Well, I think the message is definitely spot on. And I think the message I would have, number one, to TAs is be aware of the resources available to you, right?
Yeah.
then leverage the hell out of that, right? So many historically TAs have not really talked about the distribution partner behind them,
Yep.
right? And
Guilty as charged, sir.
yeah. I mean, you and I have had that conversation.
Guilty
right?
as charged.
And I think this is a shift in perspective that I think is timely and important. That D&M doesn't have to go out and hire hundreds and hundreds of people to have this bench. When you've got those people at the ready that are purpose built to help you grow, and I think that's the point of it. It doesn't diminish at all the value
Not at all.
D&M provides, right?
I have to drink my own Kool-Aid. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Exactly, and I tell people now, my ecosystem is like the National Guard.
Yeah.
I get to call it up whenever I need it.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
Yeah.
I get up to call. It's like the National Guard. You need a little help, you call in for a little help.
Yeah.
You don't need help. These people who are trained go back to their day jobs, and they offer help where they can.
I just, sorry for the distraction. I just got a completely random text from a guy that you and I both know really, really well, who may be, I think he was once considered the godfather of this space, of the TSD.
Ah, you got, the godfather.
Godfather, that's right.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Big shout out. He knows we're chatting, so he's trying to get on in the innovation. I want to hit the last few points here just to sort of wrap up our segment. So, 1, 2, 3, 5 key areas as to why, if I were just sitting next to somebody and talking about why the trusted advisors are the future of business decisions, I would say, hey, first of all, you should choose expertise over RFPs and forms. Mm-hmm. Trusted advisors offer deep expertise, tailored to unique business needs. And we have insights that go beyond generic solutions. So much like you said, thinking about it outside of, does it do this? What can it do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it enable me to do that I hadn't even thought of yet?
Oh, man, that's the best nugget right there, because in the RFP process or in the advisory space, you hope to find out the things you haven't been thinking about. Yeah. You need to jump ahead of your competition, not do what they're doing.
Mike Tesler, who I had did a podcast earlier today with, that who's the founder of a company called Broadsoft, kind of a technology luminary in this space, and he's talking about AI with me. And one note he made today was, there's AI for like personal productivity, right? Yeah. Chat GPT stuff. Can I solve an Excel formula? Can I write a blog better? That kind of stuff. There's AI that's applied to kind of business processes that groups can use that can drive it's out of groups, which is really interesting. And then the third thing he said, which was fascinating to me, is there's AI that is opening up the eyes of leaders around new business opportunities that they hadn't even considered yet. Right? They hadn't even considered yet. It wasn't even on the radar.
Amazing.
But this innovation is now saying, wow, we could go this direction as a business and reinvent ourselves, right? Or compete in a different way and win. That's the RFP stifles that, right?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It stifles that.
It does. Partnerships drive growth. Trusted advisors are, I tell people we're around forever. We're around for the life and beyond. I tell people all the time, we've lost one customer since we've been here. There was a change in guard and we moved on. And the guy on the front line had to call us and tell us that, they were moving on. And I said, hey, you can call us anytime. You are our forever customer. And I said, and there may be a time where you'll come back. And that time had come. That time came to us. There was another opportunity there. But we're long-term, partners and advisors. When you deal with direct sales, you're largely dealing with a salesperson who's looking to knock it out of the park, get promoted. It won't be on your account this time next year.
That's right.
Just won't be.
That's exactly right. I heard a
adaptability.
Average,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Average tenure of a direct account executive, average tenure of a direct sales rep is like 14 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah. I don't even know how that, they're washing out. That's what it has to be.
It is. They wash out. They go somewhere else. It's like, how do you, you've got to imagine your technology strategy and vision goes way, way beyond that horizon. It better, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, of course. I mean, when we hire salespeople, we don't even think they're going to be profitable for our company until 2+ years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you got to really be missing it to hit the bricks in 14 months.
Right.
Third thing is adaptability in fast changing markets. We touched on this a little bit. You know, the RFP just doesn't move fast enough. If I have a 7 or 8 month RFP, I am left in the proverbial dust.
Mm.
And in today's date, Andrew, I think you'll agree, if I take 14 months to implement, I'm already looking at old technology.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Um,
There are capabilities today that are complete realities today that hadn't even been conceived of 6 months ago.
yeah, that's for sure.
It's a very, very different, radically different world from what we lived in 5 years ago.
You know, the fourth one, cost effective and time efficient. I mean, I think that's something we've been selling for a very long time. We just make it better, faster, cheaper for them. We know what deals have gone down. We know where the pricing's hitting. We know what opportunities they are. We know when providers are looking to make deals. We know how much they can customize or how much they'd be willing to customize. And we've done a ton of research. We are a 24/7, 365 RFP machine, virtual RFP machine, so to speak, by our constant look at what the latest, greatest landscape looks like and what their capabilities look like. You know, we have our own internal score sheets and check cards and colleagues who we talk to throughout the industry. And then people like yourself who we're constantly, you know, getting counsel and guidance from and just saying, hey, what's coming up down the pipe here?
Mm-hmm.
How does an RFP even match that?
Yeah, no way. Drew Leidecker and I were talking about this exact point recently where, you know, we basically, through our ecosystem, we have eyes on damn near every deal done in this space in the enterprise.
Amazing.
And it's, we know what where pricing is at. We know what flexibility vendors have or don't. We know, you know, there's so much information that we have at our fingertips that would be impossible for an individual solo customer to be able to get on their
Couldn't
own.
do it.
Couldn't do it. No way.
Could do it. What are they going to do? Call 2 references? And when was the last time you gave a reference where somebody was going to say something bad about you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, never. Hey, the last thing on the list is something we lean into, and I could talk about this for an eternity, but, you know, building trust through relationships. I have been very blessed to have partners that I've worked very hard to build a level of trust and confidence with. I've achieved that through consistency, honesty, going the extra mile. I've been in this space for 8 years. I've got customers and friends for that long who, if they're in town, we make sure to connect, even if not on business.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part of this business. But now, you know, there are a number of customers that'll say, hey, have you called D&M? Have you called Vic specifically to bounce this past him? And they're like, oh, I guess this guy has a love affair with him. He's like, no, he's been around for 8 years and we've made 10 decisions based on his counsel. They all went well.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's just ask him. We don't have to do it, but let's just get some feedback. And it's I don't want to let people down. You know, these relationships are very deep and personal and they matter to me. I'm not moving on in 14 months.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's right.
And
that is true of your peers, man. Right. You know, you
of course.
You're in a very, you know, lucky group of top performing trusted advisors. What's cool about this community is we all talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
And the relationships that are formed amongst these trusted advisors is pretty special. But that's what you just said about 14 months. That's consistent across every single one of those guys, right?
Yeah.
Every single one.
So let's do this. We're going to wind down this topic, but I want to give you the last piece. You know, if you want to put a bow on this thing, what would you say about, you know, if you wanted to leave somebody, even if you repeat a few things, you know, what's the most poignant thing you could say about the RFP and its time?
Well, let's go full circle back to your stats.
Okay.
Right? Because I think we calculated, what was it? $247 billion was a number I came up with of failed or partially failed implementations of IT purchases, right? Somewhere north of $200 billion.
Yeah.
And what do they say about the definition of insanity?
Yeah. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's right.
Yeah. So why would you continue to adopt a process that is proven over decades, especially now in this, that it's broken? There's got to be a better, faster way to do this. And exasperated by the pace of innovation. You've been using this old vehicle to make procurement decisions that in no way, in shape or form, can keep pace with where technology is going at the pace that it's innovating, right? And so you have to find a new vehicle. You just have to. If you don't, you're going to continue to those failure rates are going to continue to go up, right? So that would be my encouragement. Is we happen to think that better vehicle is the trusted advisor. I'm a
for sure.
That, and if there's a customer listening to this that hasn't yet explored that, it's a game changer. It is absolutely a game changer.
Andrew, thanks for the chat on this topic, man. Super cool. Appreciate it.
You bet, man. Enjoyed it. Good selling.
Hey, Andrew, welcome back. How's it going?
Going good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hey, you've got a tremendous amount of insight into this ecosystem that is the channel.
Yeah.
And there is often a lot of turbulence, I'd say, about people's commitment to the channel. I've been directly involved in it for 8 years, but have consumed through it since 2001 because of D&M. Steve Gerhardt was my guy, right? So when I had to procure things that were in the channel and Steve had them available, I always did them through Steve because I had a really great guided experience. So the reason I bring that up is I know you spend a lot of time talking to people, new solution providers, new technologies. You know, how does that conversation go when you're introducing them to the channel? How have they found you? How have you found them? What are they thinking about? And I would love to hear, I'm going to sit and listen for a little bit. I would love to hear your perspective and on your journey on what it's like to bring new technologies in, to bring people into the channel, introduce them to our space, and what causes any flux in that relationship.
Well, for me, it's been fascinating over the past 4 years, especially because the company I started in 2020 was a technology services distributor, but focused exclusively on this highly specialized area of CX and AI. So much innovation happening in that space. So naturally, I began engaging with a lot of new vendors, new suppliers that had new capabilities, new products that hadn't been around for very long. And historically, if you were going to start a technology company, you'd build some tech, you'd prove some product market fit, you'd go get some initial funding, you'd start to sell to customers. And the natural progression of that is at some point you build out a direct sales force that goes and starts talking to your ideal customer profile, and you try to a business. There's a lack of awareness, or has been a lack of awareness, that this channel that you and I live in even existed. It's been fascinating. I mean, even, it happens to me on the regular, right? Where what is this TSD channel you speak of? I don't understand.
Even today? Is that even today?
Even today. And
wow.
And so it's then it becomes a point of education, right? It's did you know that every leading cloud contact center platform out there has publicly stated that over half of their volume comes from this channel, from the TSD channel, which means huge. It's a massive number, right? If you look at big brands like AT&T or Verizon or Lumen, the amount of investment they put in this channel, because the volume that it generates for them, it's obviously a very meaningful thing. So I get the opportunity to educate new vendors about this space, which is a lot of fun. But the other pushback you get, though, is this expectation that, oh, well, I just need to get access to that channel, sign a contract, and get up on a website with them or whatever, and then just sit back and the leads start coming in. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I've always said to vendors that you have to give this a minimum of 18 months before you hit a run rate that you would be satisfied with. Like, we're really hitting our stride now, right? And so the lack of patience on the supplier side can be frustrating for sure at times. And it's not just new vendors, it's also new leadership. And so even some of the big brands that I mentioned, there were times that AT&T was all in on this channel.
Yep.
And other times they were completely absent, saying, we're done. We're not working with this channel anymore. And then inevitably it comes right back around again. And they happen to be in that world right now where they're investing very heavily in this channel. And a lot of it is because of strategic leadership at the top that you either appreciate, understand, and know what it takes to be successful in this channel. And if you're not familiar with it, you convince yourself very quickly, well, I mean, why would you ever do that? This is let's go build our direct sales muscle and let's count on that. But Vic, the numbers are staggering. I mean, when you start to look at the average tenure of a direct sales rep, I mentioned that to you before, 14 months, right? The cost to recruit salespeople and then train them and enable them and manage them, and then they leave,
exit them,
and then do that all over and over and over again. That's incredibly expensive. Holy cow, that's really expensive. And then if you don't pause and think of what the downstream impact on the customer is in that scenario, then you're very, very short-sighted, because it's the customer that really suffers from that kind of sales rep churn.
Yep.
And so I think, there's lots of examples out there of vendors that have really got this. They have a long view. They see the power of what trusted advisors can do on their behalf. And they want to double down on that channel. And it's been interesting in my seat to see vendors that get it, and then many that don't. Right.
I've had a mix of experiences with new folks coming into the marketplace that completely get it, and a mix of people who just absolutely do not get it.
Yeah.
We won't name the companies. They operate how they operate, and that's a unique choice that they have, and they're entitled to it. It's their business. Mm-hmm. I had one person at a company say to me, well, wait a minute, you're not only representing us, and I got to rethink this relationship. And I said, well, if you only want me to represent you, then I have to rethink this relationship, because my allegiance and loyalty is to bring the customer options.
Yeah.
They need optionality. I'm trying to avoid an RFP where you're answering a 4,000 page response. But if I could narrow the field down to the top 2 or 3, my job is to get you swings.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I have narrowed down the entire field, and in some areas it's incredibly deep, and I can get you in the top 3, said, hey, they trust me, and they've sat with me for a few days, and they understand my requirements well enough to know to weed out certain people. Yeah. And these are the 2 or 3 we should be talking to. Yep. At that point, the job is yours. It's not mine.
Yeah.
I will support, but my job at that point is to get the customer to an end state solution without wearing your jersey or the other brand's jersey, but to wear the customer's jersey.
That's right.
And that is who I still am and who we are and what we believe.
Yep.
It doesn't sit well sometimes. We were running a program where we asked for some contributions for some folks to be in an elite program with us, and said, we're kind of doing all the stuff you do. And I say to him, I said, hey, I'm going to give you an analogy I gave somebody I used to work with. How many companies out there do you think, or some math, rather not an analogy, how many companies out there you think we can sell to?
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know, 500. I said, how many of those you think you can close in the next 2-3 years? He goes, 100. I said, so what the hell am I supposed to do with the other 400? I said, so if you think that you can close all 500 on your own, then you don't need this program.
That's right.
But if you think there's a shot that I can get you a swing and let you do what you do, then come in.
Yeah.
Now, I want to run something else past you, and this was something that I put in the newly inspired pitch deck. Other industries that have trusted advisors, we always lead off with insurance.
Yeah.
You can call Geico, you can call Farmers, you can call Allstate, or you can call, ABC Insurance, who has a line into every one of those, and they're going to get you the best rates and terms across the platform.
Yep.
Financial services, wealth management, tax advisory, financial planning, they're all trusted advisors. They have their own advisory firms. Healthcare, telemedicine, EHR systems, medical devices, compliance management, trust advisors that guide for all of that.
Yep.
Legal and compliance management, risk mitigation, contract negotiation, all that. And then lastly, retail and e-commerce, supply chain logistics, digital marketing, customer experience management, every one of these areas. And there were many, many more, but I tried to pick the ones that would ride in a few center lanes.
Yeah.
Insurance is the one where everybody goes, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Get it. Yeah. There was something cool that happened a few years ago, and I've been talking about it ever since. I actually talked to Ian and Drew about this.
Yeah.
I don't think it was last year. It might have been the year before, but it was no further back than the year before that. I was watching the Super Bowl. And you know how the Super Bowl is legendary for having their Super Bowl time commercials that are just everybody's best swing.
Yeah.
This commercial comes on, and it was a commercial promoting mortgage brokers. Okay. And basically said, if you're in the market for a mortgage, the best place to go for a mortgage is to a mortgage broker because they have access to all rates, all lenders, and you're going to get a best look at the field by going to broker. They didn't push a particular broker.
Right.
It was a very benign commercial, just pushing a broker versus an agent.
Yeah.
All right. Or a loan officer, I should say, not an agent, but a loan officer who works for a bank or a specific lender. And I went, holy shit, that's what we need.
Yeah.
Who's ponying up the $5 million for the next Super Bowl?
Super Bowl ad. Let's do this.
we need the Super Bowl ads, but I don't know who funded that, where it came from. I think it might have been right before COVID. So
that's fascinating.
I think that's what it was. I think it might have been 2020. It was quite some time ago.
Yeah.
Shitty timing, right? Although interest rates were low, nobody did anything. You couldn't move. You were masked up. But, so what's the feedback you get when you say, hey, man, this is going to take 18 months? How do they digest that? What's the balance of people who go, yep, that's what I'm signed up for, or, oh, really?
Yeah. It's a mix. It's a mix for sure. But I try to make the tough decisions at times that if you're not willing to sign up to that kind of an expectation, that kind of a runway, right? Then, let's revisit this when you are.
Very nice.
And we have to be able to say no in those scenarios, because otherwise we're just setting each other up for failure, right? Trusted advisors are built on this idea of trusted relationships with customers. You guys have customers with Steve and at D&M that have been with you for 20 plus years. Yeah. Right. Those relationships weren't formed overnight. Right.
No, they weren't
formed over a couple of months. They took a long time to build. And that's what most great relationships are, right? They're never instant necessarily, right? They survive the test of time. And so it's ironic. The trusted advisor that has built their whole business on building trusted relationships with customers, that's the key to their success.
Yeah.
The suppliers that are successful in this ecosystem are the ones that also have a long view and decide the strength of our business is going to be the trusted relationship we have with the trusted advisor. And any expectation you have that you're going to build that relationship overnight is folly, right? You might as well just set your money on fire. It's like, it makes no sense at all. So, I try to communicate that on the regular, because I know just from doing this for decades, I know that the suppliers that are successful in this model are the ones that have the long view, that stick it out, that view you as a trusted advisor, as a partner, right? we're in this together. And when something goes sideways or something doesn't work out like we all expected, it's not a vendor-customer relationship. It's a partnership. It's interesting. You and I both know this other company in the TSD space, and there's a guy that that acquired a TSD to get into this space, and this guy has built a successful business in his own world for sure, but he always called partners, D&M, a customer.
Yeah.
And I always told him, I'd say to him, if D&M's a customer, what does that make you? Right? Well, that makes you a vendor.
Yeah.
And so if something breaks, if something goes sideways, what does a customer do? Customer fires vendors, right? A customer looks at, well, who's another vendor I can use then? But if you consider each other a partner, it's like something went sideways, something's not going well, it didn't meet expectations, we're in this together, we're partners in this, how are we going to figure this out, right?
Yeah.
Suppliers that get that nuance are the ones that really succeed in this space. And I just try to evangelize that all the time with suppliers that are thinking about, how do I really get successful in scaling through this model? Because man, when you do, Katie bar the door. I mean, it'll help you achieve goals as a company that you never could dream possible.
Yeah. The thing I would like to add is that, especially in the state of AI right now, because there's uncertainty is now translating into action, the sales cycles are elongated.
Yeah, true.
A lot of people are going up market, not knocking down, the $1,000 or $2,000 MRR deals. These deals are more material. There are more people involved in decision making. The bigger companies are jumping in first. Those, and for better or worse, are still requiring more exhaustive, due diligence around the solution. I've got a company running 2 side-by-side POC on a slam dunk solution. I mean, so much fear and anxious and anxiety in the process. But so for the new providers coming in this space, just look at the top of the funnel.
Yeah.
Right? Because the bigger the top of the funnel gets, eventually at some point, the first piece is going to drop out the bottom, and then they're going to come out on the regular.
That's
You got to get swings. You got to get in there. You got to build brand recognition. Yeah, you got to win some deals along the way. I get it. Money drives. You can't be in it forever on the raised capital, and you've got to drive revenue. But I think 18 months is fair, buddy. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fascinating model, man. It's in the relationships that I've been blessed enough to form over the last couple of decades with people like yourself and Stevie G and so many others. It's I feel lucky to be a part of this. And
me too.
I love to see suppliers where the light bulb goes off. You almost remember that moment where they're like, oh yeah, I get it now. Right.
You sure do. Yeah. And I like when that light bulb goes off for me, seeing a new solution as well.
Yeah.
When
absolutely.
I go, whoa, this is gonna change things for people.
That's right. That's exactly
right. This doesn't exist. Hey, cool topic tonight.
Do you often have a part of that light bulb moment where, because I've seen you do this, Vic, where as part of this kind of discovery process where we're evaluating a new solution, where something strikes you about it and you bring up a use case or an application for it in a business that even the provider themselves hadn't thought about.
I do, because I'm thinking about my customer's business.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm thinking about mine. I'm going, holy cow, they do that. Or, and this is, I'm going to give a plug to one of the platforms out there, if you don't mind. I'm going to give a plug to Capacity.
Great choice. Yeah.
I don't recommend Capacity as a solution. I recommend it as a platform to solve numerous problems. Mm-hmm. If you want to automate work using AI, large language models, generative AI, potentially, right? If you want to automate work doing that in multi-channel, voice chat, SMS, email, etc., here's a platform. Pick your use case. You're going to get an ROI. But once you get that, it's much like the Salesforce of its day. Yeah. Completely different solution, but a platform.
Yeah.
I'm trying to drive my customers to platforms versus spot solutions, because everybody's got too many apps in their ecosystem. Right. And where you can get a platform that does 3, 4, 5 things, I think it makes it an easy choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I loved the capacity piece. We're getting very, very close on an opportunity with one of my favorite and most dear customers that gets it. They see it. They understand that they're salivating at the opportunity of what it's going to be able to provide for their business as they continue to grow.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Hey, dude, great night. Thanks again. Just unbelievable. Always love talking to you. Tons of insights. And I just love the way you think.
You too, my friend. Always enjoy this. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.